I never thought I'd be the guy to write something like this, but here I am. My wife, Emily, and I have been together for over 7 years. We got married pretty young, and honestly, I always believed we had something real. Sure, she's always been a little bitchy, quick to lie and manipulative when she wanted her way, but I thought that was just her personality. I figured everyone has their flaws, and I loved her enough to overlook them. We met through some mutual friends, and early on she was just incredible at making me feel everything was perfect. Or so I thought. The signs of trouble started subtly, little things at first. She'd be on her phone a lot more, always with her screen turned away from me. I'd catch her lying about where she was going or who she was talking to. She'd brush it off, calling me paranoid or insecure. Honestly, I thought maybe I was just overthinking it, that maybe I was imagining things. But then came the community reintegration event last month. It was supposed to be about helping ex-offenders reintegrate into society, and Emily was volunteering. I wasn't able to go because of work, but I trusted her. She's always been good at pretending she's busy when she doesn't want to talk. She told me she'd be home late that night, but I started noticing odd things a few days before that. Her phone was more glued to her hand than usual, and she'd get defensive if I asked who she was texting. At first, I thought maybe she was just talking to her sister or some friends. But then I found something. A text chain, nothing explicit but enough to make me suspicious. A guy named Jake kept texting her, calling her babe and saying he loved how she looked the night of the event. I remember seeing that and feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. I asked her about it, and she just rolled her eyes, dismissed it as some guy she met at the event who was just being friendly. She said I was overreacting, that I was jealous and insecure because I didn't trust her. That wasn't enough to convince me, though. I decided to dig a little more. I started paying closer attention. I noticed she was secretive when she was on her phone, locking the screen. When I got near, I also saw that her schedule didn't quite add up. She'd say she was working late, but then I'd find her car parked near some guy's house, or her stories about volunteering seemed sketchy. It was like she was hiding something big, and I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind trying to piece it together. But the real game changer came on a Sunday morning. I was home alone, scrolling through her messages. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to know if I was imagining it or if she was really cheating, and that's when I saw it. A message from Jake, sent late Saturday night saying, "Can't wait to see you again, babe. Last night was incredible. You're so sexy when you're in that outfit." The words hit me like a freight train. I felt cold, sick to my stomach, but it got worse. There was a reply from Emily saying, "Me too. I miss you already. Can't wait to have sex again." I couldn't breathe. I stared at the screen and felt my heart pounding like it was trying to jump out of my chest. That's when I knew for sure she'd been lying all along, sneaking around behind my back. I had no doubt she was sleeping with him, probably during the event or maybe even before. I just didn't want to believe it, but the proof was right there in her own words. My head was spinning. I kept asking myself how I could have missed all the signs, how I didn't see it coming. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. All those years I thought we had something real, and it was just a lie. She was out there fucking another man, and I was the last to know. I put the phone down, trembling, trying to process what I just uncovered. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, trying to figure out what I was supposed to do next. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. My mind was racing, trying to piece together everything I'd discovered. I wasn't just angry, I was devastated. The woman I loved, the woman I shared everything with, had been cheating on me with her parole officer's husband. That bastard, Mark, who's supposed to be helping her get her life back on track, was sleeping with my wife. It was almost too much to believe. I kept thinking about how she'd lied for months, how she'd lied to my face about her whereabouts, her late nights, her volunteering. All of it was a lie. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it recklessly. I needed a plan. I couldn't just shout at her or accuse her without proof. I had that now. I decided I'd wait until she came home that evening, give myself some time to calm down, and then lay everything out. But honestly, I was already simmering with rage. The idea of her cheating behind my back with that hypocrite Mark's wife's husband just made my blood boil. It was like the universe was mocking me. She, a manipulative bitch, was out there having sex with a man who was supposed to be helping her. It felt like some sick joke. That day, I kept busy but was hardly focused. Every noise made me jump. My mind kept replaying the texts, picturing her and Mark together. I also started looking back on all the little clues I'd ignored, dismissed before. The late calls, the secretive texts, her sudden mood swings. It all fit now like pieces of a puzzle I'd refused to see. But what really pushed me over the edge was realizing she'd lied about being faithful, about loving me. She'd been sneaking around, probably for months, having sex with that guy while pretending everything was fine. By late afternoon, I found myself sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the wall. I was going over what I'd tell her, how I'd confront her. I knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. I'd always been the calm one, the rational one, but that was breaking down fast. I felt betrayed, humiliated, but mostly furious. How could she do this to me, to us? I kept asking myself if I should give her a chance to explain or just rip the Band-Aid off and end it. Deep down, I knew the answer was the latter, but I needed to hear her lie again to see how she'd spin it. When she finally came home, I was already sitting on the couch, cold and quiet. She looked at me with that typical smirk, like she thought she was the smartest girl in the room. That's always been her go-to move, acting like a bitchy queen controlling the situation. She flopped onto the sofa and started acting like nothing was wrong. "Hey, babe, what's up? You've been acting weird all day," she said, flipping her hair. I looked at her and for a second I was stunned into silence. My mind was racing, trying to figure out how to start this conversation. I took a deep breath, then just laid it all out. I told her I knew about Jake, about the texts, about the affair. Her face twisted into a sneer and she rolled her eyes. "Oh, really? That guy, it's nothing serious, you're overreacting." She shot back, her tone dismissive, like I was some jealous fool. She tried to deny it, said he was just a friend, that I was paranoid. But I wasn't buying it. I told her I'd seen the messages, that I knew she'd been sleeping with him and Mark's husband, and that I wasn't going to sit there and be made a fool of. She laughed, an irritating, bitchy laugh, and said I was crazy, that I was reading too much into things. "You're always so insecure," she sneered. "You think every guy after me. Maybe I should just leave you if you're going to be such a jealous freak all the time." That was the moment I knew her lies were just getting worse. She was good at twisting things, making me feel like I was the one losing my mind. But I had the proof, and I wasn't going to let her spin her way out of it. I told her I was done, that I couldn't stay with someone who lied, cheated, and manipulated me like that. Her reaction was priceless. She looked annoyed, then angry, and finally started crying fake tears. "You're crazy," she spat. "You don't know what you're talking about. I've never cheated on you. You're just jealous because I'm better than all your stupid friends or whatever you think." I saw right through her. That's her typical move: lie, deny, scream, cry. But I'd already seen the evidence. That was the last straw. I told her I was leaving, and she kept trying to guilt-trip me, saying I was overreacting, that she'd never do something so disgusting, as she called it. Honestly, I felt numb. I knew it was over and I didn't even care what she said anymore. I just wanted her gone. That night I couldn't sleep. Instead, I sat on the couch, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. My wife, Emily, was still in the other room, throwing her usual tantrums, calling me all sorts of names, trying to make me feel guilty. But I felt nothing but cold resolve. The betrayal was too deep, the lies too numerous. I'd always considered myself a patient guy, someone who could forgive and forget if the right words or actions came along. But this was different. She lied, cheated, and laughed in my face. I never thought I'd say this, but I genuinely started thinking about ending it all, even if just to escape the pain. The next morning, I decided I had to get out. I packed a bag, told her I was going to stay at my brother's place for a while. She tried to guilt-trip me, saying I was abandoning her, that she still loved me. I didn't bother replying. I just left. I didn't want to hear her bullshit anymore. I drove to my brother's house, and all I could think about was how I'd let this happen, how I'd trusted her all these years, how she'd been lying to me from the start. While I was sitting in my brother's living room, I started reflecting on everything. I realized I'd been so blind, so eager to hold onto what we had, that I ignored all the warning signs. She was a manipulative woman with a bitchy attitude, constantly lying, constantly testing my patience. But I thought I loved her enough to overlook it all. Now I saw I'd been fooling myself. The pain of betrayal was raw. I kept replaying that damn text from Jake. The last night was incredible. I miss you already. And worst of all, her saying she wanted to have sex with him again. That image haunted me. It wasn't just a fling. It was something she actively planned and enjoyed. I knew I had to face the reality that my marriage was over. I couldn't trust her anymore, not after this. Still, the part of me that loved her wanted to believe she'd apologize, admit everything, and maybe even try to fix it. But deep down, I knew better. Emily's the kind of woman who'd lie until the very last second. She's a pro at spinning stories, at pretending she's the victim. I kept asking myself if I should fight for her or just cut my losses and walk away. Honestly, I felt exhausted, emotionally drained, like I'd been run over by a truck. But I also felt a strange sense of relief, like a weight had been lifted. I could finally see her for who she really was. Over the next few days, I kept my distance. I didn't answer her calls or texts, and I refused to go back home. Somewhere inside, I knew I had to make a choice. I wasn't going to be the guy who stays and gets constantly betrayed. I deserved better than that. I started thinking about everything I wanted in a relationship: trust, honesty, respect, and how she had robbed me of all of it. I also knew that confronting her again would only give her more chances to manipulate or lie her way out of it. So I decided I'd see how things played out, but I was already mentally preparing to move on. That's when I started talking to friends and family, trying to gather advice about what to do next. Some told me to just cut her loose, to walk away and find someone who respects me. Others said I should try to work things out, but only if she was willing to be honest and truly change. Honestly, I didn't care what they said. My gut was telling me I was done. I'd been betrayed so badly that even imagining forgiving her made me sick. I knew one thing, though: I couldn't go back to that life, not after seeing what she was capable of. The trust was shattered, and I didn't think I could ever rebuild it. What really stung was the realization that she'd played me for a fool for months. I kept thinking about all the moments I missed, all the signs I ignored, her secretive phone habits, her dismissiveness, the lies masked as jokes or nothing. I'd always thought I was the problem, that maybe I just wasn't enough for her. Now I see I was wrong. She was the problem all along, a manipulative, bitchy woman who lied and cheated and thought she could get away with it. The worst part: she still acts like she's innocent. Like I'm the crazy one for catching her. I honestly don't know what's worse, the betrayal or her denial. So here I am, still in this mess, trying to pick up the pieces. I know I have to move past it, but I also know I'll never see her the same way again. She's the woman I loved, but she's also the woman who tore my world apart with her lies. And honestly, that's a lesson I won't forget. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's damn hard to fix. I'm still hurt, still angry, but I'm also starting to accept that this chapter is over. The question now is, what's next? Because I sure as hell don't want to go through this again. A few weeks passed and I kept my distance, trying to make sense of everything. Every time I thought about her, Emily, that bitch, I felt this mix of anger and deep sadness. Part of me kept asking why she did it, why she chose to cheat with Mark's husband, someone so close to her, someone who was supposed to be helping her rebuild her life. I kept replaying that night when I saw the texts, the way her face looked when she was caught in her lies, that smug, dismissive expression she always gave when she thought she was getting away with something. It made me sick. Honestly, I spent most of my days just wandering around, trying to stay busy but failing miserably. Every little thing reminded me of her: her perfume, her voice, the way she used to laugh. And the worst part, deep down, I still loved her. I wanted to believe she'd somehow realize how much she'd fucked everything up and come clean. But the truth was, that hope was dying fast. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. She wasn't the woman I thought I knew. She was just a manipulative, selfish bitch who never cared about me or our marriage. One night, I decided I couldn't keep pretending I was okay. I'd been keeping it all inside, but I knew I needed to confront her one last time, get everything out in the open. I called her, told her I wanted to talk, and she agreed, probably thinking I was just going to beg her to stay or something. When she arrived at my place, she looked surprised, like she didn't expect me to be so calm, so cold. I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break down. Instead, I just sat there, staring at her with that blank yet furious look I'd been holding in for weeks. I told her I knew everything about Jake, about Mark's husband, about all her lies. She scoffed and crossed her arms, trying to act like she didn't care. "You're crazy," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're just jealous and insecure. I don't know what you're talking about." I cut her off. "Stop the bullshit. I saw the messages, Emily. I know you've been sleeping with them. That night at the event, you weren't volunteering. You were with him, weren't you?" Her face twitched and she hesitated for a second before letting out an exasperated sigh. She started spinning her usual lies, saying it was a mistake, that she was just confused, that she didn't mean for any of it to happen. But I wasn't buying it. I told her I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I told her that I was done. Done pretending I didn't see what she was. Done wasting my time on someone who could lie so easily, cheat so blatantly. That's when she started crying, fake tears, real crocodile tears. "You're the one who's crazy," she kept saying. "You're overreacting. This isn't what it looks like." But it was exactly what it looked like. Her tears didn't fool me anymore. She'd been lying from the beginning. She'd been having sex with that guy, probably during the community event and before. I could see it in her eyes. She thought she could manipulate me, make me doubt myself, but I wasn't having it. I told her I was leaving, that I was done with her and her lies. She looked shocked for a second, then angry. "You're really going to throw away everything we had?" she snapped. "Just because I made a mistake, you're overreacting like always." I shook my head. "It wasn't just a mistake. You fucked another man, you betrayed me, and I don't think I can ever trust you again. Not after this." Her face twisted into an irritated snarl. "You're just insecure," she spat. "You're jealous because I don't want to be with a controlling asshole like you." I realized at that moment she wasn't going to admit anything, even if I had concrete proof. She was going to lie, deny, and keep playing the victim until the very end. I got up, told her to leave, and that I wanted nothing more to do with her. She stormed out, screaming and calling me names, but I didn't care. Honestly, I felt a strange sense of relief, like a huge weight had been lifted. Finally, I'd taken back some control. I had faced her, laid everything out, and refused to be manipulated anymore. The truth was out. I was free from her lies, her deception. And even if it hurt like hell, I knew this was the end of the line for us. I couldn't keep pretending she was innocent, not after everything I'd seen and learned. Now I'm left to pick up the pieces, trying to figure out what comes next. It's scary, not knowing if I'll ever fully recover from this betrayal. I keep thinking about what I've lost, the trust, the years we shared. But I also think about what I've gained: clarity, honesty, and the chance to finally move on from someone who never truly loved me. I guess that's the hardest part, realizing that what I thought was love was just a well-constructed lie. And I've got to be okay with that, even if my heart still aches. Because I know deep down I deserve better than to be lied to, cheated on, and played like a fool. After she left that night, I stayed awake for a long time, just sitting there, trying to process everything. The house was eerily silent, the kind of silence that makes you hear your own thoughts echo back at you. For years, I'd built this life with Emily, thinking we had something strong, something real. But now I saw it for what it truly was: a carefully crafted facade hiding a web of lies and betrayal. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how she managed to pull the wool over my eyes for so long. The feelings were a chaotic mix: anger, sadness, disappointment, and even a strange sense of relief. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut so many times, I wasn't sure if I was still standing. Worst of all, I was angry with myself for trusting her so blindly, for ignoring the red flags that had been waving in front of my face for months. I kept thinking about that night at the community event, how she'd lied about everything, how she was smiling and acting like she was helping people when she was really getting laid behind my back. The thought made me want to scream. Over the next few days, I began to realize I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I had to act, had to decide what my next steps were. I started making plans. I found a small apartment nearby, something cheap but decent enough for me to start over. I knew I wasn't going to rush into anything, no rebound relationships or quick fixes. I needed time, space, and clarity. I even started seeing a counselor, just to talk through everything and get some advice on how to move past the betrayal. The hardest part was facing the reality that I'd lost the woman I thought I knew. Emily was a manipulative little bitch who played her cards so well I never saw it coming. She lied about everything: her whereabouts, her intentions, her feelings, even her integrity. I kept replaying all the moments she dismissed my concerns or told me. I was insecure. Now I see it was all part of her game. She was a master at pretending to be innocent while sneaking around with her lover. It's a bitter pill to swallow, realizing I was just a pawn in her little game. One thing I can't forget is how she kept trying to guilt-trip me even when she knew she was caught. That fake crying, the snotty, "you're crazy." Her full-on denial even when I handed her the proof. She's good at twisting herself into a victim. That's what hurts the most. Knowing she never really loved me, not the way I thought, but just used me as a backup, a safety net until she found someone better. And now I'm left picking up the pieces, trying to rebuild my life from scratch, knowing I'll never fully trust her again. In the end, I think what hurts most is the realization that I was so naive. I kept telling myself that second chances were possible, that maybe she'd change, that she'd see what she threw away. But deep down, I knew she'd never change. She's just that bitchy, manipulative woman who lies and cheats and thinks she's above everyone else. The betrayal has changed me. I'm more guarded now, more cautious about who I let into my life. I don't regret loving her, but I regret trusting her blindly. Right now, I don't know what my future holds. Maybe I'll find someone else someday, someone who's honest, who respects me. Maybe I'll be alone for a while. Honestly, I'm just trying to breathe, to move forward, even if it hurts like hell. The one thing I do know is that I'm never going to get back what I lost. That chapter is closed, and even though the pain is fresh and raw, I'm starting to accept that I deserve better than someone who would lie and cheat and make a mockery of my love. I've learned a hard, painful lesson about trust, about the importance of paying attention to the red flags and not ignoring my instincts. I don't regret confronting her, even if it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. The truth is, I needed to see her for who she really was so I could finally heal. I just hope someday I'll be able to forgive her, not for her sake, but for my own peace. Because right now I'm just trying to survive this, one day at a time. It's been a few weeks now since everything fell apart. I still wake up some mornings expecting her to be there, to hear her voice or see her smirk, but I know that's gone forever. The house feels emptier than ever, and I catch myself staring at the door, wondering if she'll ever come back, even though deep down I know she won't. There's a strange sense of relief mixed with the bitterness. I finally see her for what she is, a dishonest, manipulative woman who valued her own pleasures more than our marriage. That realization hits harder than I thought it would, but I also feel a strange sense of freedom. Looking back, I realize how much I let myself ignore the signs, how I stayed blind for so long because I wanted to believe in us. I kept convincing myself she was just going through a rough patch, that she'd come around. But she never did. All she did was lie and cheat behind my back, laughing at my naivety. And honestly, I think part of her enjoyed the power she had over me, knowing she could do whatever she wanted and I'd still be there, waiting for her to come back or fix things. That realization hurts, but it also makes me angry enough to never allow myself to be hurt like that again. I've learned some important lessons from all this. 1. Trust is fragile. Once broken, it's almost impossible to fully repair, especially when betrayal is involved. 2. Don't ignore the red flags. Those little things you brush off at first will become too big to ignore later. And 3. Loving someone doesn't mean you have to accept being lied to or betrayed. Respect and honesty are the foundation of any real relationship, and if they're missing, you're better off walking away, no matter how much it hurts. Now I'm focusing on rebuilding myself. I've started going to the gym more regularly, reconnecting with friends and working on my career. I've realized I deserve someone who will respect me, who won't lie or cheat or manipulate me. I won't make the same mistakes again. As much as I loved Emily, I know now that some people are just not worth the pain, and that's okay. I'd rather be alone than stuck in a cycle of lies and betrayal. There's still a part of me that feels broken. Somewhere deep inside, I mourn what I thought we had. But I also know that healing takes time. I won't forget what happened, but I will learn to forgive myself for trusting her for so long. I'll carry the scars as a reminder to be more cautious, more aware, and to never settle for less than what I deserve. In the end, I'm grateful I found out when I did, not after years of living a lie, not after she'd blindsided me with some other affair. This way, I can start fresh, rebuild my life without her, and maybe someday find someone who truly cares about me. Because I've realized that real love isn't about turning a blind eye to the truth. It's about honesty, respect, and loyalty, things Emily proved she never cared about. And I'm finally ready to move on, stronger, wiser, and with a clear understanding of what I will and won't accept in my life anymore.